MP, Mr. Sikangombe MP, Mr. Awa Mutare MP, Mr. B.M. Mundobile MP, Mr. S. Kampiongo MP, Mr. M. Fove and Mr. M. Kafaya were in order to remain in the House and partake in its business, given the provisions of the Constitution, Article 72(2)(e), as read with Article 72(5) over the Constitution, Chapter 1 over the laws of Zambia, and in light of the expulsion from
the second Deputy Speaker informed the House that the point of order raised the issue of vacation of office of a Member of Parliament following expulsion from sponsored member assembly. In rendering the ruling, the second Deputy Speaker referred to Article 72 of the Constitution and explained on the procedure to be followed when a Member of Parliament and the political party was subject to confirmation by a court. He further explained that where the Member of Parliament did not challenge the expulsion within the prescribed period, such member would lose the seat.
Mr. Deputy Speaker further explained that it was only after the confirmation over the expulsion by the court over the lapsing over the period within which to challenge the expulsion that the office of the Speaker was mandated under Article 72(8) of the Constitution within 7 days to proceed to inform the Electoral Commission of Zambia on the occurrence of the vacancy, and thereafter a by-election will be held in accordance with Article 57 of the Constitution.
Mr. Second Deputy Speaker informed the House that in the case at hand, his office received correspondence from Mr. Morgan Mona, the Secretary General of the Patriotic Front (PF), on 6 December 2023, to the effect that nine mentioned PF members had been expelled from the party. He stated that consequently, on 8 December 2023, the 9 members of Parliament challenged their expulsion by way of a petition in the case of Ronald Shotela and 8 others, versus Miles Waliasampa, Morgan Mona, and the Attorney General 2023/CCZ/0028. He stated further that in a ruling dated 27 June 2024, the Constitutional Court dismissed the petition as there was no constitutional issue to be resolved in the petition, but instead required the court to interpret the violation of the political party constitution, which meant that there was no court process before the Constitutional Court challenging the legality or otherwise of the expulsion of the 9 PF members.
Mr. Second Deputy Speaker informed the House that following the ruling on 27th June 2024, his office received a correspondence from Mr. Miles Waliasampa MP in his capacity as President of the PF, reversing the expulsion of 7 out of the 9 PF members, including Mr. R.K. Shotela MP, Mr. Christopher Kangombe MP, Mr. R. Mutare MP, Mr. B.M. Mundobile MP, Mr. S. Kampiongo MP, Mr. M. Fove MP, and Mr. M. Kafaya MP, while Mr. N. Chilangwa MP and Mr. M. Bakata MP expelled.
And the second Deputy Speaker, that as a matter of practice and based on the political party's constitutional and administrative arrangements, all correspondence from political parties to the National Assembly was supposed to be through their Secretary General, and therefore the National Assembly disregarded the communication from Mr. MB Samba MP, the PF President, and as such all members of the PF that were expelled remained expelled.
In view of the above, Mr. Second Deputy Speaker ruled that since the members of Parliament that were expelled at their petition dismissed by the Constitutional Court, they were out of order to continue sitting in the House and take part in parliamentary business, and that since there was no challenge of expulsion properly before court, and that the expulsion having been effected in December 2023, the vacancy had occurred in the Busa, Chitambo, Korokoso, Chiwangandu, Chiluvi, and Lunte constituencies. He stated that he would invoke powers vested in him in Article 72(8) of the Constitution to write to the Electoral Commission informing it to the vacancy
His Excellency Mr. Felipe Jacinto Nyusi, President of the Republic of Mozambique, on his special address to the House.
Thereafter, the House did consider the motion which was moved by Kalomo Constituency Member of Parliament and Mr. Harry Kamboni, urging the House to adopt the report over the Zambian delegation to the 148th Interparliamentary Union IPU Assembly and related meetings held in Geneva, Switzerland, for the third session of the 15th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 19th June 2024. And this particular motion was seconded by Ms. Wangele Mwamba, who is Kasama Central Constituency Member of Parliament, and this report was adopted.
The House also considered at second reading stage the Matrimonial Causes Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 5 of 2024, and it will be considered in committee on Friday, 5th July 2024.
Thereafter, the House did also adopt the report, which was the motion which was moved by Mr. Mobika Shangombo, Member of Parliament. He did urge the House to adopt the report of the Committee on Transport, Waste and Supply on the road freight in Zambia for the third session of the 15th National Assembly of Zambia, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 26th June 2024. So this one was also adopted.
So that was the business of the House yesterday, 3rd July 2024. And just now we have a look at what is expected to be considered on the floor of the House today.
So today being 4th July 2024, in summary we expect one ministerial statement, 3 questions for oral answer, questions of ordinary nature, and also one committee report. So we also expect announcements if there will be any, urgent matters without notice if there will be any. And just like I earlier said that we expect one ministerial statement.
Yes, and the ministerial statement it will be on the status of ground water resources, and this is expected to be rendered by the Minister of Water Development and Sanitation. And on the questions that are coming for oral answer, understanding order 80, one of the questions is coming from Kawata Member of Parliament, Mr. Tayenga, and he's directed this question to the Minister of Health. He wants to know how many people were on the third line HIV treatment countrywide as of March 2023, and part B of the question, he wants to know the annual cost of treating the patients, and also he wants to know whether there are any plans to introduce the fourth line of HIV treatment. So those are some of the questions expected on the floor of the House. And just now we go to the floor of the House as the Speaker's procession makes its way into the House.
Prayer. Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness has appointed the officers of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people. We beseech you to consider with your abundant favor us, your servants, whom you've been pleased to call to the performance of such important responsibilities in this land. Let your blessing descend upon us here in Parliament assembled, and grant that we may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interest you have committed to our church. Amen. Order. Honorable member, I have 6 announcements to make. The first one, honorable members, I wish to acquaint the House with the presence in the Speaker's Gallery of Honorable Raymond Chatima Nkata MP from the Parliament of Malawi. He is also the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association Central Africa Sub-Regional Representative and is here on a familiarization tour of the CPA Zambia branch. I wish on behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia to receive our distinguished guest and warmly welcome him in our midst. I thank you. The second announcement, honorable members, I wish to recognize the presence in the public gallery of pupils and teachers from Nico Girls Provincial STEM Secondary School in Namwala District. On behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, I warmly welcome our visitors in our midst. I thank you. You may take your seats. The third announcement, honorable members, I wish to recognize the presence in the public gallery of pupils and teachers from Keba Christian Academy in Makandanyama, Kabwe District. On behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, I warmly welcome our visitors in our midst. You may be seated. The next one, I wish to recognize the presence in the public gallery of pupils and teachers from Nakambala Private Primary School in Nakambala Estate, Mazabuka District. On behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, I warmly welcome our visitors in our midst. You may be seated. The next one, I wish to recognize the presence in the public gallery of pupils and teachers from Niza Trust School in Choma District. On behalf of warmly welcome our visitors in our midst. Thank you. You may be seated. The last one, teachers from on behalf our visitors in our midst. I thank you, and you may take your seat. We make progress. Agent matters without notice. I see none. Honorable members have permitted the Honorable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation to make a ministerial statement. The Honorable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation.
Madam Speaker, let me thank you most sincerely for giving me this opportunity to inform the nation through this August House the status of both surface and groundwater resources, their protection and use during the national disaster and emergency period and beyond. Madam Speaker, the status of groundwater resources in particular has come under public debate, scrutiny, and media attention following the indication by WAMA that there is a high risk of its depletion in parts of Lusaka and other areas in a few months' time. Madam Speaker, this statement will be in 6 parts. I'll provide the mandate of the Ministry, current status of surface and groundwater resources, the laws and regulations governing groundwater and borehole drilling, groundwater outlook, proposed measures and interventions to continue supplying water to our people and build resilience, and advice to the public to ensure sustainable surface and groundwater management and efficient water use. Management of water resources, provision of Sanitation Council NWASCO and is countrywide, ensures adequate management and protection of water resources and provision of water and sanitation services to all Zambians in line with the 2010 National Water Policy and the Water Resources Management Act No. 21 of 2011. Madam Speaker, groundwater plays a key role in supporting socio-economic development in Zambia and sustains livelihoods through provision of water for various uses such as agriculture, hydropower, mining, industry, recreation, and most importantly, domestic water supply for both animals, humans and animals. Zambia's water resources, Madam Speaker, are estimated to generate renewable surface and groundwater of 100 km cubed and 50 km cubed per year, respectively. In terms of spatial distribution, the surface water resources are not evenly distributed, while the groundwater resources are fairly evenly distributed. In terms of water demand, irrigated agriculture and hydropower sectors are the two major competing water users, with a total demand for hydropower production estimated at 275 million meter cubed per day, whereas the demand for irrigated agriculture is estimated at 35 million meter cubed per day. However, in the 2022-2023 season, the country experienced one of the most devastating droughts in much of the lower half of the country, which adversely affected the agriculture and image sectors, prompting His Excellency the President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, to declare the drought a national disaster and emergency. Madam Speaker, the reduction in the precipitation and consequently groundwater infiltration has had a direct negative impact on the availability of groundwater, as storage in groundwater aquifers has reduced due to insufficient recharge. The most affected regions as far as groundwater depletion is concerned are Western, Southern, Lusaka, parts of Eastern and Central provinces, as monitored by 77 boreholes in the country. Madam Speaker, the performance in the Southern province districts of Choma, Zimba, Kaloma and Mazabuka shows that the regions received less rainfall compared to last season, resulting in less infiltration or precipitation to the water table. The worst case observed was in Zambia district, which recorded a new low of water levels ranging from -40 and -50 below the ground. By May 2024, groundwater level differences between 2022 and 2023 season and 2023 and 2024 seasons were lower in the current season by a range of 0.5 to 29 meters, with 4 meters being the average drop in the region. Madam Speaker, similarly, some parts of the central province have reduced peak recharge levels from last season's level of -9.5 to this season's -12 meters, representing a 26% drop. As of 30th March 2024, groundwater levels had declined to -15 meters, a level which was 5 meters below the observed level in the previous season, representing a 50% decline on a year-on-year comparison basis. In the Eastern Province, the Ministry observed that the peak water level this season was -9.6 meters, while the previous years it was at -8.5 meters. The water levels in this season have declined by 13% when compared to the previous season. In Katete, peak water levels were observed for the current season in March 2024 at -5.6 meters and remained the same through the second quarter of 2024. The observed peak water level the previous season was -2.8 meters. It is also important to note that there was very little recharge in this area observed this season. As of May 2024, groundwater levels observed in the district had dropped to -5.7 meters compared to a depth of -3.8 meters observed the previous season, representing a 60% drop when compared on a year-by-year basis. Madam Speaker, this data collected in various parts of the country and analyzed clearly shows the depletion of groundwater resources in the country. What are the laws and regulations for groundwater, Madam Speaker? It is important to remind the general public that the protection of public streams and sources of water supply SI number 1 of 2000 prohibits activities likely to diminish the quantity of water, such as cultivation, cutting of trees, and excavation of sand within 50 meters of any water resource. The stated SI gives power to WAMA to destroy any unlawful works, crops, or structures which have encroached on water resources without any compensation to the offenders. In addition, under Section 172 of the Water Resources Management Act number 21 of 2011, offenders can be fined up to a sum of 200,000 kwacha or imprisoned for a period not exceeding 5 years or both. Madam Speaker, to enable effective and efficient implementation of the provisions of the Water Resource Management Act, the Ministry, through WAMA, enforces the Water Resources Regulations SI number 19 of 2018, that is for contractors and drillers, and the Water Resources Regulation SI number 20 of 2018 on groundwater and boreholes to manage drilling services and for sustainable management of groundwater and boreholes respectively. Drillers are therefore required to obtain authority to drill boreholes, register existing boreholes, provide safe distances between boreholes and potential pollution sources in order to safeguard public health and ensure improved health for all Zambians. Madam Speaker, the required standards for drilling boreholes have been issued to all drilling companies to ensure that value for money for the citizens and sustainable utilization of groundwater resources. The Ministry has also been engaging drilling companies to understand their challenges and find common ground for fair pricing for borehole drilling and equipping. This House will recall that this has been the aim of His Excellency the President, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, to all individuals and companies working in Zambia to ensure fair prices, good quality products and services, and timely execution of all works. Madam Speaker, I wish to assure members of this House and the country at large, interventions have been put in place to mitigate the effects of the drought and build resilience. In the immediate to short term. As part of the drought response plan, government has commenced routine maintenance of 770 dams, major rehabilitation of 40 dams, construction of 28 new dams, rehabilitation and equipping solar pumps of a total of 1,500 boreholes for domestic and household use, rehabilitation of 509 functional boreholes, and drilling and equipping of 110 commercial boreholes for commercial utilities in order to supplement groundwater, river and reservoir levels which have started drying up in drought-prone areas. Madam Speaker, in order to safeguard livestock and wildlife, my ministry has embarked on the construction of 225 drinking wells for livestock and wild animals, which will also help in reducing human-animal conflict. Further, 250 waterborne toilets will be constructed in markets, schools and bus stations, particularly in cholera-prone areas, in order to mitigate against waterborne diseases like cholera and dysentery. In addition, several important water projects that had been constructed but stored due to budget constraints will be allocated funds and fast-tracked and completed before December 2024. To this end, all contractors are encouraged to complete these projects timeously, and any contractor who willfully disregards their contractual obligations will have their contracts terminated and funds illegally paid recovered. Madam Speaker, on water resources management, in terms of water resources management, the ministry has embarked on implementing a comprehensive assessment and mapping of water resources in order to understand better the distribution, characteristics and dynamics of water resources for effective development, management, sustainable utilization and protection of water resources. The ministry will also enhance the implementation of catchment protection and restoration measures around rivers, lakes and dams to build resilience against climate change. To this end, a number of areas which are at risk of degradation have been identified and will be declared water resource protection areas. It is provided for under Section 29 of the Water Resources Management Act number 21 of 2011. Further, the ministry through WAMA will intensify regulation, compliance and enforcement of the laws and regulations to curb illegal activities such as encroachment of water resources, illegal water use, pollution of water resources and other vices that are negatively affecting this resource. Madam Speaker, in order to protect water resources from further degradation, the various existing laws and regulations will be strictly enforced. Further, consultations on the need to increase tariffs to ensure commercial utilities operate viable businesses and maintain their water supply system, as well as expand them to ensure quality water supply, will be held. Specifically, the Water Forum is expected to be held in August 2024, where all water players will meet to find solutions to the water crisis. Madam Speaker, in addition to enforcing the law, the ministry will intensify public awareness on protection of water resources, sustainable water utilization, catchment protection measures, and adherence to all regulations and laws. In this regard, my ministry through WAMA has developed a deliberate countrywide program to sensitize the general public on sustainable water utilization. Madam Speaker, for the immediate long term, the government intends to implement the following measures for the conservation of groundwater resources. 1. Countrywide mapping of groundwater aquifers. 2. Adoption and implementation of rainwater harvesting for purposes of recharging groundwater. 3. Expansion of the hydrogeological network to improve information collection, analysis and management. 4. Protection of eco-sensitive groundwater areas through declaring them as water resources protection areas. 5. Promotion of drilling communal boreholes for domestic water supply. Madam Speaker, the desired outcome from implementation of these medium to long-term measures will be sustainable management of groundwater resources for Zambia. The quantification of groundwater resources through these measures will aid decision-making for implementation of a robust groundwater permitting and allocation regime. Further, water harvesting and promotion of water groundwater recharge through protection of recharge and eco-sensitive areas will enable more aquifer recharge, thereby sustaining and increasing groundwater availability for socio-economic development in the country. My ministry wishes to assure the general public that it is working tirelessly to ensure there is a provision of water supply for both humans and animals in the drought-hit areas and other parts of the country where such shortages have been reported. What is our advice to the members of the public, Madam Speaker? Members of the public and service providers who are engaged in drilling boreholes for their own use are guided as follows. Avoid drilling shallow boreholes to prevent drying up of the same. Siting and drilling of boreholes in deep-seated groundwater aquifers must be done in a manner that the boreholes are deep enough. And currently, advice is between 80 meters and 120 meters, and way past the groundwater table to ensure continued supply from the boreholes. 2. For areas where groundwater table has drastically dropped, such as in Zambia district of Southern Province, members of the public are advised that pump installation must be set to below 50 meters in order to secure supply of water during pumping. For hand pump installation in this environment, drillers are advised to supply and install appropriate hand pumps that can work at depths of below 50 meters. Owners of existing boreholes in such areas are advised to readjust their pump installation depths to deeper levels where possible in order to continue accessing water. 3. The public should ensure proper siting of boreholes is done before embarking on drilling of boreholes to reduce the possibility of hitting dry boreholes. Drillers who engage in substandard drilling works should be reported to WAMA for possible sanctioning and enforcement of corrective measures. The ministry will do mapping of groundwater resources to ensure that the public are better served. Madam Speaker, groundwater is a finite resource which must be closely guarded in this drought period. I therefore wish to urge the members of the public to complement government's efforts by partnering in the implementation of groundwater conservation measures. 1. Avoid complete paving of your yards in your homes or plots to allow groundwater recharge spaces within the yards. Paving must leave a designated greenery to enable infiltration of water. 2. Avoid encroaching in water resource areas such as recharge areas, well fields, commercial boreholes meant for water supply, springs, buffer zones for rivers and streams. 3. Avoid wastage in homes and practice water conservation. Contact WAMA for any technical information and support, and continue pre-treatment measures such as chlorination and boiling before drinking. Madam Speaker, members of the public are called upon to join efforts in the conservation and protection of groundwater resources in Zambia through practicing of water conservation measures and minimizing of waste. The public is called upon to desist from building or erecting structures in groundwater recharge zones and ecologically sensitive areas to ensure sustainable utilization of ground resources in Zambia. Lastly, Madam Speaker, let me appeal to the business community to support Zambians who are currently water stressed due to the drought by offering to drill free boreholes in identified areas. Firms and individuals can drill between 1 and 50 boreholes at negotiated prices in areas identified and mapped by the Ministry of Water Development and Sanitation. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. Honorable members are now free to ask questions on points of clarification on the ministerial statement given by the Honorable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation. The Honorable Member for its stage.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Minister, from your ministerial statement, it's very clear that this situation we are in is also highly contributed by human activities that are progressive to the availability of both surface water. Now, Minister, you've mentioned that in order for people to be compliant, they need to be engaging WAMA. Now, what I know is that ordinary, what plans do you have to decentralize WAMA so that in Shangombo, in Tezitezi, in Dundumwezi, in Chinamago, and in Chikoti, the people can easily engage WAMA and the compliance can be enhanced? Thank you, Minister.
The Honorable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and let me thank the Member of Parliament for Iteji for those remarks. Indeed, I want to agree with him completely that the depletion of these groundwater resources largely have been due to human activities, particularly land degradation, deforestation, and other activities upstream of the sources of these streams, these rivers, and these streams. Madam Speaker, I would like to inform this august House that one of the things we're quickly done in the ministry is to ensure that all entities in the ministry, and this is the ministry itself, NWASCO, and the 11 utility companies work together. So in all the provincial capitals, in all the provinces of the country, the water utilities, the CUs are present. So WAMA is closely working with these CUs to ensure that this information reaches our people. So my advice to the Member of Parliament is that you can also contact the water utilities whose presence is very widespread in all areas, in all the districts of the country. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
The Honorable Member for Kwacha.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity given to ask a follow-up question to the Minister.
You may proceed, Honorable.
Thank you. There was a disturbance, a small disturbance, Madam. Honorable Minister, in as much as we can talk about dams, we can talk about putting up bores, but as long as the water recharge areas, which gives us water sources, are disturbed, then we are not going to do anything. We continue to receive disturbing reports, numerous reports, and information to the effect that the recharge areas has now been turned, some of the recharge areas have been turned into residential areas or plots. And in mind, I have Forest 27. We have a lot of housing units that have been built. And then this is threatening the water resources, water sources. What is your ministry doing about this thing that has sprung up in Forest 27, where people have been allowed to build housing units? Are we going to demolish them, or what is your position as a ministry? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation.
Madam Speaker, thank you. Let me thank the Member of Parliament for Kwacha for that very, very important question. And indeed, human activity is disturbing our water resources, both surface water and underground water. Encroachment on our water resources by our people is increasing every day. Privileged to be at the Ministry of Economy and Environment, where my colleague is. These are the issues we are trying to ensure are protected. We are trying to ensure that the water resources are protected. Coming to Ministry of Water Development and Sanitation, clearly, Madam Speaker, there are laws and regulations in existence, particularly the Water Resources Management Act, clearly spells out the penalties which are supposed to be given by those encroaching on our river systems. And the clear stated in my ministerial statement that fines of up to 200,000 kwacha can be made against offenders, including imprisonment of up to 5 years or both. What has been lacking in the previous administrations basically has been enforcement of these laws. This gives me an opportunity to inform the public and obviously to also warn encroachers that the laws of the land will be enforced. My advice to members of the public, my fellow Zambians, is that please do not carry out farming activities on the riverbanks. Do not encroach on the river sources. Do not build there because you stand to lose. The law is very clear that WAMA will destroy any structures, any farming activities along the riverbanks. I think this is very, very serious. So please do not encroach these sensitive areas. Madam Speaker, this statement is a serious statement because already we're experiencing the negative effects of our own activities. And the examples abound. One clear example right now, Madam Speaker, is in Pemba. The river which supplies that reservoir in Pemba, the reservoir itself actually is drying up. This reservoir will be completely dried up by next month, June, July, August. By August, what we've done immediately, working with the DMMU and the Vice President, is to immediately drill a commercial borehole there. Drilling of commercial boreholes is expensive. We've drilled a commercial borehole up to a depth of 120 meters. If our activities were controlled, if we utilize that resource in a sustainable manner, there would be no need to drill these expensive commercial boreholes. Madam Speaker, one commercial borehole, depending on the characteristics of the ground, of the geology, can go up to 1.5 million kwacha. These are funds which we must reserve for water treatment chemicals. These are funds which you can easily prevent from utilizing if and only if we sustainably utilized our natural capital. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
The Honorable Member for Kanyama.
Thank you, Madam Mukuru. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity that you have given me. Madam Speaker, it's so gratifying to hear that government has taken measures to ensure the water that we are drinking is safe and is not polluted. Looking at the report that was just read. However, Madam Speaker, I just wanted to find out as to how safe is our water in these residential areas where a number of filling stations have been put in these residential areas where people are sinking boreholes, and at the same time, these filling station owners are busy sinking their tanks filled with all these lubricants. So I just wanted to know how safe is this water that we are drinking. I submit.
The Honorable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation.
Madam Speaker, let me thank my fellow MP from Kanyama for this very, very important question. And let me also say that, again, coming from the Minister of Green Economy, Zima was very active in this space. Zima was giving out EIAs, but on account of environmental impact assessments as submitted by developers. And they did a lot of work in this area. Madam Speaker, of course, government is concerned if any water resource would be concerned if any water resource is polluted. What I want to assure the public is that in areas where these filling stations are, Zima continuously monitors the quality of water in those areas. Number one. Number two, on the water development sanitation side in the ministry, WAMA also monitors these facilities. I want to assure the public through this August House that WAMA will continuously and actively participate in monitoring activities. Further, I clearly stated in my statement that for areas which are ecologically sensitive, WAMA will declare these areas protected areas. I think gone are the days when we look on the other side as our water resources are polluted. So those who have the propensity of encroaching in ecologically sensitive areas, I want to warn them that their days are numbered. This will not be tolerated because we can clearly see that this is affecting the general public. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
The Honorable Member for Ron.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity. Minister, thank you very much for that blanket statement. Madam Speaker, allow me to begin by appreciating and commending the investors in my constituency, Rancha Copper Mines, through their chairman and the CEO, for effectively and seriously embarking on pumping out water at shaft number 28 in the volume of 170 million cubic liters of water, which will be pumped out, Madam Speaker, for the next 18 to 21 months. Honorable Minister, you alluded into your speech that you were on a marathon in various provinces sampling the levels of water and the effects that it has caused. This 170 million cubic liters of water that is being pumped out at Rancha 28 shaft is massive, and they have only switched 3 pumps 24/7, and the water that is coming out there is massive. By the time they'll be switching on 15 of their pumps, don't you think it would be ideal for your ministry to look at Southern Province or the route that this water will be taking? You talked of rehabilitating 740 dams, mostly in Western and Southern Province. Don't you think these dams can benefit from this water that is coming from 28 shaft? Are you not serious to engage the mines to see how best we can also tap in and benefit from these waters? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation.
Madam Speaker, let me thank the Honourable Member of Parliament for that suggestion and advice. I think it wasn't a question, and I'd like to agree with you that there's a lot of water being pumped out of shaft 28, and that our people, our public, will benefit from the water resource, this water resource. I must also confirm with the Member of Parliament for Ron that pumping activities in all these industries, when you're carrying out industrial activities, basically benefit surface water. I think examples abound again. Ndola Lime, those days used to pump out a lot of water from their pits whenever they were crushing, getting that stone for crushing. So indeed, there will be a lot of benefits to our people. I also want to confirm to you that we are monitoring the quality of that water very actively, and we are very, very glad that Rancha Copper Mines is doing as per requirements of the law. So that water is pumped from underground there into a holding pond, and quality checks are done before that water is released into the environment. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
The Honorable Member for Pemba.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. And I want to really thank the Honorable Minister of Water and Sanitation for the water schemes that have been allocated to Pemba because of the dire need of this of the water. Madam Speaker, I wish to confirm that really Pemba is badly hit when it comes to this commodity water scarcity. We are talking of about 45,000 animals when it comes to the effect. The actually 45 animals may not have water. Now, Honorable Minister, as you understand the emergence of the demand for water in Pemba constituency, Pemba district, I would like to know when are we likely to hand over these facilities, which are very, very important to protect the lives of our animals. As you know, our people depend on these animals. If these animals die, it means we will be heavily affected as a consequence. Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation.
Thank you to the Honourable Member of Parliament for Pemba, and indeed I'm glad he has confirmed that the situation is quite dire in Pemba. We will be handing over these facilities very, very soon. We don't think it will be beyond this month because Pemba is really, there's an emergency in Pemba. Maybe let me also inform, I forgot to inform the Member of Parliament for Ron that we are doing these interventions not only just in the drought-prone areas, it's across the length and breadth of the country. but we are looking at those areas which are very water stressed, Naponde being one of them and other parts of the country. So we are doing a lot of interventions. I must also inform you that actually another area we've quickly done an intervention, we'll be doing an intervention is in Solwezi. Just 2 weeks ago, the Vice President, Madam Narumango, directed that a diesel genset be procured for that area because of the water stress in there. So as DMMU, under the Vice President's office and working with the Minister of Water Development and Sanitation, we want to assure the general public that we will do everything possible, everything within our power to ensure that the water stress is reduced to our people. Madam Speaker, indeed, let me also just reiterate that all projects will be fast-tracked and handed over. We are in an emergency, and all our actions will speak to the fact that we are in an emergency and will work tirelessly to bring water to our people. I thank you.
The Honorable Member for Chiengi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, Zambia sits on 40% of the water bodies of our continent. So I want to find out what your government is going to do, because I've heard you talking about sinking of boreholes, and there are certain parts of Lusaka already, just here in Obama, some of the boreholes are drying up. So I want to find out if you have a solution to help people to start with, because part of Obama, some homes that their boreholes have started drying up. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Let me thank the Member of Parliament for chairing for that very important question. Indeed, Zambia's resource endowment is very, very high, both of 40% in the region, as you have said yourself. What Zambia has lacked is to harvest this water, because most of this water flows from the Kafue River into the Zambezi River and finds itself in Mozambique and to the ocean. So what we need to do urgently is to harvest this water. Harvesting this water will ensure there's water security. Harvesting this water will ensure there's food security. Harvesting this water will ensure there's energy security. So this is very, very important. Madam Speaker, in the short term, in Lusaka, Lusaka Water and Storage Company is currently drilling a lot of commercial boreholes to ensure that Lusaka, residents of Lusaka water secure. For those areas where the yields from the boreholes are low, I think there's a plan to transfer from the other commercial boreholes to those areas, including actually the finishing of the bulk water supply schemes, which is coming from the Kafue River. You remember that phase 1 was complete and phase 2 should be starting soon to ensure that most of Lusaka is catered for. Further, Madam Speaker, Chongwe has also been very, very negatively affected, and that the part of Lusaka, the east of Lusaka and Chongwe, our plan there is to ensure that we construct an Akantampa Dam to ensure that there is water security in Chongwe and the eastern part of Lusaka. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
The Honorable Member for Chikankata.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Minister, for your good statement. Minister, what measures are you putting in place to identify aquifers across the country in order to preserve the remaining underground water?
The Honorable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation.
Madam Speaker, let me thank Madam Jacqueline Sabao of Chikankata for that very, very important question. Again, in my statement, I clearly stated that mapping of groundwater, a project to map the groundwater resource in the country, is a project the ministry is putting a very, very high premium on. Already we've talked to our cooperating partners, GIZ, the EU on board report to help us map this resource. Madam Speaker, mapping this resource to ensure sustainable utilization of the resource. Mapping of the resource to ensure that human activities are done away from this resource, thereby reducing pollution. So, indeed, Madam Speaker, mapping of this resource is high on our agenda and it will be done very, very soon. Actually, a lot of work has already been put in place and expertise and resources will be provided to the department to ensure that there is mapping of underground water resources. Madam Speaker, further, actually, this will also reduce the incidences of hitting dry boreholes because with the artificial intelligence, with mapping, then we should be able to drill boreholes where this water.
The Honourable Member for Mbabala.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for allowing the good people of Mbabala an opportunity to do a follow-up question. Thank you so much, Honourable Minister, for that very important statement. The Pemba being my neighbour, are we going to see some schemes come to Mbabala where we have a confluence of Munyeke and the Ngonga rivers, and which converge there, and we really want to see a big dam there. But the substantive question, Honourable Minister, is what are you doing to regulate the price of these boreholes? Because when you are drilling as an individual, you are drilling at 23,000, 25,000, and when our councils are drilling, the price goes to 80,000, 90,000, and when your ministry is drilling, the price goes to 100,000 plus. So what are you doing to ensure that we regulate and bring down the price? I know the President talked about this in the first sitting of this House, but we need to see the change. Thank you.
The Honourable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation.
Madam Speaker, let me start by thanking the Member of Parliament sincerely because I think he brings out two very, very, very important questions. One, obviously, rehabilitation of dams in that area. Madam Speaker, you may recall that that area of the country, particularly that area of Southern Province, experienced a lot of flooding. I think last year or the year before. This led to washing away of the dams. Some dams were overtopped and they breached. And this was because the intensity of this flooding was very, very high. So part of the 770 dams are in this area because this is the area also where there's a lot of livestock, where a lot of farming activities, there's water insecurity in this area. So let me confirm to the Member of Parliament that yes, indeed, you will see some projects in that area. Secondly, Madam Speaker, the pricing of boreholes. This has been a thorny issue. Actually, it's not only the pricing of boreholes, I must say, it's also the quality of boreholes being drilled. Madam Speaker, let me even start by appealing to drillers. Because it's the same drillers who drill our personal boreholes, it's the same drillers who drill CDF boreholes, it's the same drillers who drill commercial boreholes. The difference in pricing is out of this world. What are we doing about this? One, we're trying to benchmark ourselves. We have in the Ministry of Water Development and Sanitation our own drilling rigs. So we're trying to ensure that we're trying to come up with the cost structure of drilling a borehole. So our technical team is busy so that we compare notes with the drilling companies. Number two, we believe that government institutions coming together, the ministry itself, which drills a lot of boreholes throughout the country, CDF boreholes, donor boreholes, everybody in the borehole industry, we've been meeting them already. And we want to come up really with prices which are acceptable to all of us. It does not make sense at all that when I go as a private individual, I'll drill a borehole for 30,000 kwacha. But when I go as government, I'll drill the same borehole at 100,000 kwacha. we believe that our drillers must be more responsible, and our drillers must really help us in this drought situation. So we're appealing to the drillers actually, not only to reduce the pricing, but also to offer free boreholes in this time. Further, Madam Speaker, we also want to encourage the borehole drillers to drill quality boreholes. When they quote you for 50 meters borehole, they must drill a 50-meter borehole. They must case according to the design. They must also help us in sizing the pumps. So, Madam Speaker, there's a lot of work we need to do with the drillers. Thirdly, Madam Speaker, we also want to ensure that the laws and regulations governing drilling and equipping of boreholes are followed. So we, in the statement again, I clearly spelled out what punishment will be meted out to those drillers who do not follow the laid down laws and regulations. So we are going on the countrywide tour to inform our people, particularly those in rural areas. Those in rural areas, Madam Speaker, are abused. I want to inform you here that personally, I've caught a lot of these drilling companies. They'll quote somebody for a borehole for 50 meters. They'll drill at 30 meters. They'll case at 20 meters. And because they are going to install a hand pump whose requirements for water are very low, the village will be very happy. The problem comes when there's a drought like now. Then every villager is crying that he has a dry borehole. So now when we are upgrading, by the way, we are upgrading 500 boreholes. When we start upgrading, meaning we maybe want to put a solar pump in there. That's when now we come to realize that that borehole which was drilled 5 years ago, 10 years ago, is actually 30 meters. It's not even 50 meters. That it wasn't even placed at all. Some have collapsed because the quality of drilling was not on. If you are going to drill a 6-inch borehole, drill a 6-inch borehole and not a 4.5-inch borehole. So we are appealing to borehole drillers as well to come to the table to ensure that we supply this requisite resource to our people at affordable prices. Madam Speaker, this is a topic really which we all must take seriously, and I'll be talking to my elder brother, the Minister of Local Government, to see that the prices really for drilling, even for CDF boreholes, that these prices are acceptable prices. And by the way, distinguished members of Parliament, we will also be doing an audit on these boreholes which have been drilled. Some boreholes for CDF have not been drilled to the required depths. The pumps they have installed are not according to acceptable specifications. So once the audit is over, we'll punish those drillers who may not have carried out the drilling activities according to the specification. However, Madam Speaker, we are also working closely with them to educate them on the law, to educate them on the requirements. So both drillers and ourselves now are working very, very closely to ensure that we supply the acceptable service to our people. Madam Speaker, thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kaumwe.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity. Honorable Minister, you've just alluded to the point that government is going to conduct groundwater mapping to establish the quantity of the underground water resources. My question is, this time we're talking about water conservation, meaning people should not build in water recharge areas. How are you enforcing this law for people to be building on recharge areas when, as a ministry, you do not have the groundwater mapping? I thank you.
We'll add 10 minutes. The Honorable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation.
Madam Speaker, let me thank the Member of Parliament for Kaumwe for that very, very important question. But maybe also educate him that it's not only mapping, because mapping is obviously finding the exact source of that groundwater. But remember, you can identify the recharge areas very, very easily, including the water sources. And by the way, Madam Speaker, again, when you look at the green economy, we are looking at recharge areas, we are looking at the forest areas, and most of these protected forests, actually, Honorable Posha will tell you that the protected forests actually house very ecologically sensitive areas. Most of these protected forests also house the recharge zones as well as the river sources. So you can very easily identify them. And some of these actually water sources, you can also see that that's where springs sprout out. There's water coming out of those areas. These recharge areas are very, very well known. As to the mapping, it's also areas where the naked eye will not see. So most the groundwater is groundwater. So to map groundwater, there's some technology you use to see that you identify where the deep-seated aquifers are. I hope I've cleared the Member of Parliament. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
The Honourable Member for Solwezi East.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Minister, thank you for the statement and the many mitigation measures that you stated. Just yesterday and today, the people of Mushindamo district in my constituency have been calling me regarding the shortage of water in critical areas. And Minister, not too long ago, members of Parliament were asked to indicate priority areas where we needed boreholes to be sunk. When are you rolling out that program so that we are able to assure our people that indeed water will be available in those critical areas that we indicated as a priority? We need an assurance from you, Minister. Thank you.
The Honourable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation.
Let me thank the Member of Parliament for that, again, extremely, very, very, very important question. And I've received a lot of representations from Members of Parliament on when their boreholes will be drilled. I think I've also informed the Members of Parliament, and let me inform my fellow Member of Parliament from Solwezi, that indeed these boreholes will be drilled. The number of contracts which were signed, and a lot of for borehole drilling. And I must state here very, very clearly that we've had a huge challenge actually on drilling of these boreholes, because a lot of Zambian contractors have not been performing well. A lot of contracts are not performing well. So most of the boreholes actually which were promised to our people, we may need to retender these works, because a lot of the Zambian contractors are not performing. And let me also take this opportunity actually to warn our members, our local contractors, that in as much as we are committed to supporting our local contractors, then we need to ensure that they do these things at an acceptable cost, that the quality is okay, and that they observe the timeline set in the contracts. Madam Speaker, I can only urge my fellow members of Parliament to be a bit patient with us, because we are currently populating our database for areas, for database for boreholes, those who have been given before, those who are supposed to be given now, and those who will be given actually immediately from the drought response. So there's a lot of work currently going on to ensure that we have the correct database, so that we measure progress as we go. So I can only urge patience, and that soon and very soon, everybody will be informed as to exactly when we will drill these boreholes in the various constituencies. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
The Honourable Member for Siavonga.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Honourable Minister, thank you for that statement. But our worry is, I've heard you mentioning a few districts, namely Zimba, Mazabuka, Monze. I've not heard you mentioning the Valley districts. Of course, Zimba is part of it. But I wanted to find out that what is, we have all those drought issues. The valleys hit hard by the same. And our animals are dying. And I wanted to find out from you if you have a deliberate plan or policy that you're going to look at the valley districts as one of the priority areas where you want to make sure that the water integration, the water for our animals is made available. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation.
Thank you again for that very, very important question. But let me clarify that the district mentioned were given as an example. This district mentioned like Zambia, these are areas where the ministry carried out tests. So what happens, Madam Speaker, is that the ministry has has about 77 what we call observation boreholes. These are boreholes which we monitor the depth. Okay, so that tells you whether after the rain season there's good recharge or whether the groundwater sources are going down. So we measured these in places like Zambia, in places like Pemba. So we were making a case, actually using the information I was giving out, including the data, there was data and data analysis, to demonstrate to this August House that what we are talking about is real. So numbers don't lie. When you look at the depths of the bores right now, they've gone down. So that was the measurement. Now, coming to the valley districts, I think it's not a question that these are areas which receive very little rainfall, and these are areas which are mountainous, where most of the water which comes really flows away to the Zambezi. There are flash floods in that area. So they are water stressed, and I want to confirm that these are some of the areas we are looking at in providing some of these interventions we've come up with. Madam Speaker, thank you.
The Honorable Member Fonkana.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, I want to start by making an appeal to you not to entertain the idea of increasing water tariffs before services are improved, because people are not prepared to pay services for services that are in the state they are in most of these utility companies. Now, Honorable Minister, you've intimated the challenge of groundwater in many areas, particularly in those hit by drought. It is better off to begin to fight or to concentrate our fight in areas that are very stressed, as opposed to having an wholesome fight across the country. What are your plans in dealing with the areas, and I want to give us an example in Kitwe, which is well supplied with water because of the abundance of water in the Kafue River? Don't you think it is prudent now that we find resources to ensure that places like Kitwe are adequately supplied through the water utility company from the water in the Kafue River, as opposed to allowing people in Kitwe to also be feeding on boreholes? Because you wish to know, 3/4 of the people in Kitwe are now drilling boreholes because of the challenges at Tankana water. Don't you think it would make our lives much easier if in other areas that are not so stressed, we can depend on water utility companies and not on boreholes, so that you concentrate your efforts in the areas that are prone or are hit hard by drought? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation.
Let me thank the Member of Parliament from Ghana for that very, very important question. Indeed, we hear your appeal not to entertain the idea of tariffs before improvement of supply to our people. I think that's a fair comment, and we are going to do everything possible to help our utilities improve their service delivery to our people. I must also mention that already there are a lot of people willing to pay a better price or a higher price on this resource, as long as it's of high quality, as long as it's available a lot of times. I must also want to confirm with you that PPPs are also possible in this sector, and we are already quite advanced with the PPP Council, with the Honorable Msokotwane and the Mirupi there. They'll tell you that they're already quite advanced in trying to see PPPs in the water sector. So the idea of tariffs is a good idea because the water utilities have to be sustainable. Water utilities, actually, a lot of them, remember, they are running very old infrastructure, and this infrastructure has to be rehabilitated. This infrastructure has to be expanded. So we can only ensure there's sustainable utilization of this resource if the water utilities are also receiving adequate funding. Madam Speaker, we shouldn't concentrate in the wholesome in the areas. I do not agree with you. We are trying to save every Zambian. So wherever people are water stressed, we'll go there. It's not only the areas which have been declared the disaster, the 5 provinces, but we are looking as well across the length and breadth of the country. That's why I said we are doing something in Solwezi, we are doing something in the northern province, we are doing something in Wapula province. So we are going to go along the length and breadth of the country. Wherever our people are stressed, we'll be there. I agree with you that there's a Kafue River in the Copper Belt province, but Madam Speaker, this brings me to a topic which is a very, very sad topic. A lot of infrastructure projects which were started by the previous regime were never completed. The Ministry of Infrastructure will tell you that. But more so, the Ministry of Water Development and Sanitation, most of the projects which should have answered to reducing water stress on the Copper Belt, most of these projects are not finished because these projects were abandoned. This project could not finish because of the huge debt mountain which the PF accumulated. Very, very sad. We thought that more money should have been put in the water sector gas house. That already in Western Province, the contractor there is back on site. Already, actually, Kafulafuta Dam should be commissioned very soon. There's some works which are standing and some payment which was outstanding. We've already talked to them and will be commissioning that project. I think 2 other projects on the Copper Belt will be commissioned. These projects, as far as the UPND government is concerned, we want to finish them to answer to the same water stress. So I want to assure the people of the Copper Belt that these projects will be completed and a lot of our people will be able to access water. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. We make progress. Questions for oral answer under standing order number 80. The Honorable Member for Kabwata.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question number 378.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Honorable Member for Kabwata, Honorable Kayengwa, is asking the Minister of Health the following 3 questions. The first one is, how many people were on third-line HIV treatment countrywide as of March 2023? And the second question B, what is the annual cost of treating the patients at A? And the question 3, which is C, whether there are any plans to introduce the 4th-line HIV treatment. Madam Speaker, this is a fairly technical question. So in my answer, I'll give you more details so that the House understands some of these terminologies and where they're coming from. So, Madam Speaker, first of all, allow me to begin by appreciating the efforts of various stakeholders under the leadership of this government in achieving great strides towards HIV epidemic control. Currently, 96% of our people living with HIV know their status, their positive status. Of these 96% of people who know their positive status, 98% are receiving life-saving antiretroviral drugs, ARVs. and 96% of these are virally suppressed. So, let's start with question A, which refers to those on third-line HIV treatment. And to explain what is meant by HIV third-line treatment in order to provide the context for my response to the question. Simply put, Madam Speaker, when an individual tests HIV positive, they are immediately put on HIV treatment using antiretroviral drugs, ARVs. These ARVs a person is initiated on at the beginning are called first-line ARVs. So for first-line ARVs, currently in the country, we have 1,224,935 Zambians living with HIV on first-line ARVs. If the patient has problems with adhering to taking the prescribed first-line ARVs, the virus, the HIV virus, undergoes changes called mutations, and the first-line drugs will stop working. At this stage, Madam Speaker, we say the HIV has become resistant to first-line ARVs, and the person is failing HIV first-line treatment. This is diagnosed when we find that the amount of HIV in blood is above a certain threshold, yet an individual is taking ARVs. For an individual to be well and for the virus to be suppressed or reduced to a level where it cannot be detected, we initiate the individual on a new and a different combination of ARVs. And these are called second-line ARVs. So second line, currently as a country, we have 46,942 Zambians living with HIVs on second-line ARVs. In the unfortunate incident of this person again failing to respond to the second-line treatment, a different combination is given, and this is the third-line treatment, which the Honorable Member for Kawata has asked about. Madam Speaker, as at March 2023, which is the subject of the question, 601 patients were on third-line HIV treatment. That was as at March 2023. But currently, as at now, which is outside the time question frame, so from March to now, the number has gone up to 746 patients who are on third-line HIV treatment, with the majority being here in Lusaka. The answer to B, which relates to costs, Madam Speaker, the estimated annual cost of treating a patient on third-line treatment is 48,000 kwacha per annum and per patient. Multiplied by the number that we had as at March, this comes to a total cost of 28,848,000 kwacha for the 601 patients per year. This amount, Speaker, takes into consideration the medicines and the blood tests which are needed. It, however, does not include the human resource capacity required to manage individuals on third-line ARVs. The answer to question C, Madam Speaker, currently we do not have confirmed patients requiring fourth-line treatment. However, this government, through the Ministry of Health and cooperating partners, have put in place plans including medicines to treat patients that may fail third-line therapy. Madam Speaker, for now, that's the answer that I provide. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Kawata.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think these are issues that we should not shy away talking about the first and second line and third line treatment, because if you are not affected, then it means your neighbor or your relative is affected. However, my substantive question is, I wanted to find out the successful treatment rate for those that are on third line treatment, because looking at the numbers of 701 and most of the patients that, or the clients that have been attended to, you have indicated that they are actually in Lusaka. So I wanted to find out the successful treatment rate for these people who are on third line treatment.
The Acting Minister of Health.
I thank the Honourable Member, first of all, for raising the question that HIV is with us. Those that are not infected are affected in one way or the other. So relatives, friends, and so on, or workmates. This question, follow-up question, relates to the success rate of treatment in terms of third-line therapy. The very fact that we do not have fourth-line therapy does indicate how successful third-line therapy is. So I think, in short, that is the answer to the success rate of third-line therapy. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Massa Central.
Thank you so much, Honourable Madam Speaker. I'd like to congratulate the Minister, Engineer Milupi, for sufficiently responding to this highly technical question. That would have been content, I would have been happier if the Minister mentioned a little bit about the regimens that he's referring to as third line and second line. And I hope that in my follow-up question, the Minister can mention a little bit about those technical details, the lithographer-based regimens, protease inhibitors, and so on and so forth. My question, Honourable Minister, is the justification of escalation of a patient from first line to second line, or second line to third line treatment requires frequent viral load testing. What are we doing to ensure optimal functioning of our laboratories so that we can sufficiently do baseline testing and also follow up in investigations such as viral load testing to determine escalation to the next level of treatment? Madam Speaker, I thank you.
The Acting Minister of Health.
Madam Speaker, I thank the Honourable Member for Mansa, who is a former Minister of Health and very knowledgeable in these subjects. He is a medical doctor of repute. I can give you more details on the regimes, the treatment regimes, and within the information I will give, I think his question will be answered. First of all, the third line treatment, let me just clarify something that has not been answered. In terms of treatment of HIV in the country, third line treatment cost, that is medicine costs, these are borne 100% by government with different cooperating partners. The cost for first line and second line, these are borne by our cooperating partners, specifically PEPFAR, which is Presidential Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief. This is an American organization. I think it involves the former President of the United States, George Bush, But when we go beyond second line, then government have to bear the costs. So in terms of the treatment regimes, antiretroviral therapy, that's IRT for HIV treatment, is typically categorized in different lines of therapy, which refers to the sequence in which a different drug regimens are used. Here is a general overview. The first line treatment, as of 2018, when my colleague was Minister of Health, dolutegravir, which is DTG, was introduced in Zambia for taken as one tablet once daily as a core formulation. That's tenofovir, lamivudine, and DTG. This is popularly known as TLD, and it replaced the previously used ARV regimen of TLE. The following year, which is 2019, government through the Ministry of Health introduced a new drug co-formulated as Tafed, which is tenofovir, alafenamide, emtricitabine, and the DTG, which could be used in children weighing over 25 kg, and also adolescents and adults, owing to its even better side effect profile, especially concerning the kidney and bones. These two account for 95% of all the recipients of care on first-line regimens. Second-line therapy, as the choice of second-line therapy typically depends on the reasons of failure of the first-line therapy, and may include drugs such as darunavir, and the ritonavir, and the lopinavir, and the ritonavir. Third-line therapy, this is used if the second-line therapy fails. The terms third-line therapy is occasionally used for subsequent treatment. Some of the drugs used in third line include darunavir, etranavir, and other ARV mentioned above, which may be recycled. Okay. Some newer ARV drugs being introduced, such as injectable, may be used once some of the fails their third line therapy. So far, we have 3 individuals whom we certainly know are failing on third line HIV, but these are being monitored. The specific drugs used in each line of the therapy can vary based on factors such as the individual's health status, potential side effects, and the likelihood of drug resistance. Let me take this opportunity, Madam Speaker, as the Honorable Member for Kabwata advised, this is a serious epidemic in the country and must be taken as such. Some of the failures of these treatments as a result of people not following the treatment regimes for various reasons. Some of it is self-imposed a fear of what the society may think about that particular individual. We have had stories even in marriages where people hide their status and they take some of these ARVs secretly. And when that happens, the chances of missing out on treatment becomes higher and therefore causes greater failure. Even with children who are born with ARVs, again, if we're not open as a society, we cause greater failure. So our advice to all the citizens is that HIV is no longer a death sentence that it used to be. There are many, many, many people living health lives, productive lives, who are on these treatments. So there's nothing to fear. Let us adhere to the treatment regimes that our medical staff give us. And that is why we shall overcome this particular epidemic if we adhere to the treatments that were given to us. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Kawata.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honourable Minister, I do agree with you that I think what has caused resistance is because many people are not adhering to treatment, and which I think that we need to sensitize a lot of people. However, you find out that immediately somebody fails on the second line, he goes on the third line, and the total cost of treating that patient or that client comes to almost about 48,000 kwacha, according to the figures that you have told us. Now, Honourable Minister, the 701 clients that are being attended, most of them, they live here in Lusaka. And I believe probably the Center of Excellency are the ones that are handling that. My concern is with those who are in the rural areas, they are unable to have a better diet. Sometimes they have challenges with transportation. So I wanted to find out whether the total cost that you've given us, the 48, includes the issue of dieting for those that cannot fend for themselves. Thank you.
The Acting Minister of Health.
Madam Speaker, I was very specific on the total cost. This is the cost of testing, and there's also the cost of the medications. With regard to diet and diet supplements, I think that is a separate issue, necessary as it is. But what I've given you was in answer to your question, which refers to the cost of treatment. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member from Mbabala.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honourable Minister, for the responses so far. Zambia has done very well in terms of success on the 95-95-95 plan, which is an excellent progress. The ARV program depends on efficacy and safety and tolerance to the drugs which are being administered to the patients. For us in the rural areas, we are not clear as to whether we have resistance testing, in other words, TILAT, and if we have any peer review committees that could help review one before they are put onto the third line drugs. Could you, Honourable Minister, inform us what measures we have for rural districts in terms of resistance testing and peer review before one is put on third line drugs? I thank you.
The Acting Minister of Health.
I think, Madam Speaker, the progression, and I thank the Honourable Member for Mbabala for that question. The progression, for example, from third line to a third line is straightforward. If you listen to my answer, it is failure to reach the suppression levels of the HIV virus in blood, in spite of continuing to be on treatment. In other words, if a patient is on treatment, they're taking these medicines, but the virus continues to be at a certain level which is not accepted, that is an indication that there is need to change the treatment regime and move over to a better combination, to a higher combination, which is third line. As to whether, before one does that, there is need for what the Honourable Member refers to as peer review, I do not really think that is necessary. With reference to rural areas, throughout the country, most of our health facilities have testing facilities. So they're able to detect the levels of HIV in blood, and through that be able to determine the effectiveness of any particular regime. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Acting Minister of Health, as you are picking the last question, the question by the Honorable Member for Massa Central wasn't answered adequately. That is, what is the government doing to ensure optimum fixing of labs, to ensure regular viral load testing to diagnose treatment failure? The Honorable Member for Dundumwezi.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, I have heard and also read that you can, maybe there are 2 or 3 where you can reduce or completely do not affect another person. That is, 1, abstinency. Secondly, is the correct usage of condoms. But I've only heard and read about the correct usage of condoms. Would you be in a position, Honorable Minister, to illustrate more as what the correct usage of condoms is? I thank you.
An example.
The Honorable Member for Dundumwezi. I hope. I don't know whether it's part of the question. The Acting Minister of Health.
There are certain subjects, Madam Speaker, where practical demonstrations are not required in this particular House. I think if the Honorable Member has difficulties in properly utilizing condoms, he can visit any clinic. They will be able to show him how it is done. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Next question. The Honorable Member for Nakonde.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Question number 379.
Her Honor the Vice President.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In response to the question asked by the Honorable Member for Nakonde, Mr. Simumba, who actually asks why eligible civil servants such as nurses, teachers, and others in Nakonde district are not paid rural hardship allowance, while their counterparts in Isoka and Chinsali districts are paid. Part A. Part B, he wants to know what the criteria for payment of rural hardship allowance are, and C, what measures are being taken to ensure that public servants start receiving the allowance. In response, Madam, I wish to inform the August House as follows. A, rural or remote hardship allowance are paid according to an established criterion agreed by the government and public service unions. Nakonde district has workstations that are classified as rural, while some are urban. Further, public service employees serving at stations that are classified as rural are being paid the rural hardship allowance, provided they are correctly placed on the payroll. B, Districts and workstations are classified as urban, rural, or remote for purposes of paying rural and remote hardship allowances in accordance with the agreed criteria stipulated in the Public Service Management Division, PSMD, Circulars number B2 of 2010. The categorization of districts and or stations is based on the following. 1, the presence of social amenities and the services such as A, banking facilities, B, licensed outlets to buy basic items and services, C, clean and safe water, D, electricity, and E, postal services. 2, the level of quality, availability, and efficiency of basic facilities and services away from the nearest district center. 3, the level of development in cities, provincial towns, and towns. Madam Speaker, the House may wish to note that the level of quality and availability of facilities and the services reduces with increased distance from the district centers. In this regard, the location of a workstation with regards to distance from the nearest district center forms part of the eligibility criteria. In this regard, the classification of workstations in Nakonde district on the basis of the distance from the district center is as follows. Number 1, 0 to 20 kilometers is urban. Workstation that is 0 to 20 kilometers away from the center is urban. This is for Nakonde. 2, 20 kilometers to 70 kilometers, that becomes rural and therefore due for allowance. 3, beyond these 70 kilometers is remote and therefore gets an allowance. Therefore, not all employees serving in Nakonde district are eligible for payment of rural or remote hardship allowance. C, the measures being undertaken to ensure that eligible employees are receiving the allowance include monthly payroll audits to ensure that employees are placed on correct positions and payrolls. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Nakonde.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. And let me make mention that Nakonde became a district, Madam Speaker, in 1994 from Isoka. And all the people, the civil servants in Isoka, are getting these rural hardship allowances. And Madam Speaker, in Nakonde, civil servants, they don't have access to clean water. Already that is hardship. They don't have access, Madam Speaker, to the transport. They don't have what we call yango here. They need to walk more than 30 km. And all those civil servants, Madam Speaker, are not entitled to the rural hardship we are talking about. I wanted to find out from Her Honor, the Vice President, because she has stated to say 0 to 20 kilometers, that is urban. Taking note, Madam Speaker, that Nakonde is being administered by headmen. I don't know if in town places can be administered by headmen and head women, which means if Nakonde is being administered by headmen, it means it's a rural area. I wanted to find out from Her Honor if they are going to consider putting these men and women who are trying to put Zambia on map by working hard, by moving from the areas where they stay about 20 to 30 kilometers just to report for work, and yet they don't get these rural hardship. What are you doing as a government? Are you going to consider these people? Because even if this is 0 to 20 kilometers, you have mentioned, Her Honor the Vice President, in Nakonde, this is a rural area. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Her Honor the Vice President.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and I would like to thank the Honourable Member for following up the question. I hope that really facts are being brought to the table. However, Honourable Members, what I'm reading is what is agreed upon between government and the unions. Yeah. The members you are talking about are all unionized, and therefore their conditions of service are, guided or controlled by the agreements that they make with the employer, who is government in this matter. And the issues of Nakonde being administered by headmen, I am not aware, because we know that a district is a district, and we know the structure of how a district is governed or is administered. So if they are headmen, and they are the ones you report to, for example, instead of going to the DC, I wouldn't know. Instead of having police officers at a police station, because that's part of, I don't know. Whether, Honourable, you think that there is, for example, no district or hospital, and people go to witches, I don't know. Because these are the issues that form what is defined. The definition that the Honourable Member has given, Madam, I really don't know, because Nakonde is known to be a district center. And the amenities that have been mentioned that make a district or an area qualify to be urban are found in Nakonde, and therefore government is working on this. If anything can change, it can only go back through negotiations between the union and the government. For now, this is the position. And when you say 8 kilometers of walking, even in Lusaka, people cover that distance. But the agreed distance is actually for Nakonde, because there are categories, Madam Speaker. If you talk of category A, there are only 4 cities. This is Lusaka, Livingstone, Kitwe, and Ndola. This is where the difference comes. But he was talking of Isoka. Isoka and Nakonde fall in category 6, where it is 0 to 20. So I don't know which document the Honourable may have. I don't have the headman he's talking about. I wouldn't know about them. Thank you.
The Honourable Member from Nkana.
Madam Vice President, the issue of the issue that our brother, Honourable Member for Nakonde has raised serious debates across the country. And you wish to know that these disparities in conditions of service for public servants needs serious attention, because worker motivation is extremely important for productivity. Not only are we talking about Nakonde, as a career a teacher yourself, Madam Vice President, you wish to know there are certain instances where in being paid rural hardships, teachers are not being paid rural hardships. There are certain instances, Madam Vice President, where public servants have upgraded their qualifications and have not been raised for a very long time. You can imagine you've worked for years, you upgrade your education, only a recent employee, surpasses you, in conditions of service. So my question to you would be, what do you think is causing these differences? And I would give this as a classic example in areas where same rural setup, teachers are not getting rural hardships, nurses are getting rural hardships, or others who are working in the other sectors of the public service are getting rural hardship. What is causing this? And wouldn't you consider making a statement, a national statement to address this so that everybody understands what the challenge could be? Because what we're explaining here, many may not understand. And this may cause serious, lack of morale in the public servants. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Her Honor, the Vice President.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Honorable Member. Except in trying to understand you, Honorable Member, it's like you have talked of two different things, although both are part of the conditions of service. Because you have talked of those that have upgraded themselves, and yet they have not been assessed to be put in the right, division or, grade. I think that one, I remember it here, colleagues, when we are listening, we listen to each other. You will remember most of last year, the Minister of Education took a lot of time to explain that some people even get, graded after they have retired. That is an anomaly. Government has admitted to that. That's different from what we are talking about. It's an anomaly. It should not be allowed. It's a management failure. And this is something like you have said. If people have been qualified from, for example, being a certificate, holder, teacher, to a degree, and has been there for 10 years, that should not be allowed. And we have to continuously try to uplift people. But this is a bonus, because this is not what we are dealing with. We are dealing with the issue of some people getting allowances and not others. That too is not his question. I think we have to really put it in context. If a person is not getting an allowance, it's working at the same hospital as another, that person must take it up himself, because it's not a policy issue. That is failure of administration. The question he asked is policy. And because it is policy and also an agreed position of condition of service, so what I've given is the condition of service that is agreed upon. If individuals are not being paid properly according to where they are, they should take it up. That's what everybody does in any work environment. So what I've given here to the Honorable Fona Conde is actually the position agreed for. If there has to be any change, like the proposal from Honorable Member Fonkana, can you do something? Yes, it goes back to the negotiating table so that then people can agree. Is it, if it's not working, that's something else, but this is the way it should be. If it's not working, why is it not working? Can the unions come up and speak for the members? Otherwise, this is what they have agreed. If some management gap has been realized, what has caused it? Yes, people can work on it. But if they want improvement from the distances and so on, that must be negotiated for. But this is the position now that is between the workers, public servants, and also government. 20 kilometers. In cities, it is 15. So it's not exactly the same. There are different categories. And this is what is there. Thank you, Madam.
The Honorable Member for Nakonde.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. What advice do you give our civil servants who are entitled to get these rural hardship allowances, but are not being, like for instance, they are about 20 kilometers away from the CBD. entitled, but they're not being paid. You give. I thank you.
Her Honor the Vice President.
What advice do you expect? I am also a worker. I am entitled to conditions of service. They must follow up. They must be claim forms for what is your entitlement. You can't sit back. People are not giving you your entitlement and you want to make a general cry. If personally have made claims, they should go to their unions because this is their question. This is their entitlement. Nobody touches your entitlement. So let the unions take it up and see whether truly that is happening. Maybe some people have been moving from one school or from one health post or from one place to another so that there is confusion in their own movement. But when you are entitled, claim your entitlement. It is just no, particularly conditions of service. When you are entitled, get it. It's yours. Claim it and ensure you get it. Use every means possible.
The Honorable Member for Lumezi.
Thank you, Your Honor, Madam Vice President. Good afternoon. Your Honor, the question was very simple, and some professor somewhere said, when you are saying the truth, there is no need for you to explain so much. Your Honor, this question could originate from Nakonde, but it represents the entire rural constituencies, including Lumezi. In your responses, Your Honor, you labored to start defining what constitutes rural hardships and what not, but the question is why? Would you be kind enough to respond to the why and not the definition of 70 kilometers? Because if we're going to look at kilometers, Lumezi has a radius of more than 120 kilometers. So the issue is on the why and not the definitions that you are giving us. I know you could be leading this house when favoritism is the order of the day. Is it that you are favoring other civil servants? Others are not being favored? Just give us a genuine answer.
The Honorable Member for Lumezi, I think certain words you have to give evidence. Where are people being favored? Because you have brought it out to the whole nation and you are talking about the civil servants.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The committee that sat at CPU, 5 UPND MPs, 1 PF, independence 0. What does that mean, Madam Speaker?
Honorable Member, I think that is a different subject altogether. Can you please bring out your question specific to our Honor the Vice President in line with what the question is that we are looking at?
Madam Vice President, kindly be fair to us by answering the why, not the definition of distances, just why others are not being paid the rural hardship allowance. That's all. I submit, Madam Speaker.
Her Honor the Vice President.
Thank you, Madam. Let me, I think, acknowledge the presence of Honorable Member for Lumezi. I think he just wanted me to see him. Because he has no reason, Madam. It is important that clarification is given, because the shortest of the answer, which I would have given, and therefore seem to be irresponsible, by just saying why. Because they don't qualify. Then I sit down. Is that the way you want us to be answering questions in this house? Because that is the truth. Why? They don't qualify. They don't live in rural or remote. Then I sit down. It's not what the Honorable Simumba would have appreciated. I am a teacher. And when you are teaching pupils like Honorable Lumezi, you need to explain properly. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Stage.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. I honor the Vice President. My question, Honor Vice President, is I'm also aware that in some of these rural areas, we have civil servants like teachers, nurses, who get rural hardship, but they are not in their designated stations. They stay in the urban where they don't qualify. What advice do you have for them? Thank you.
Her Honor the Vice President.
Madam, now we'll be answering why. I think on the pay slip, unless something has changed, there is even an indication. If you get what you are not entitled to, you report. That is an offense for any public servant to be getting an allowance that they are not entitled to. Because they must know that you are not in a rural area. Why are you getting hardship allowance when you live in Chilenje? That is an offense. Actually, such people should be taken to book. That is what it means. There used to be that writing on the pay slip, so I hope it is still. The fact is, some people keep moving, and then they move with what they got in another place, and then they move. It takes time, sometimes, for management. Should just like when you don't get, I said you claim. But when you get what you are not entitled to, immediately report and give back what is not yours. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Nakonde, you had your 2 questions. I'll take the last member, the Honorable Member from Pika.
Madam Vice President, Nakonde is a rural district. And even the plots in Nakonde, Madam Vice President, are sold and administered by village headmen. There are no roads. There is no clean water. And even those stations that you have referred to, that where the civil servants are entitled to. And if anything is the case, there is a trend in most rural districts, including Nakonde, where female civil servants can only be put on rural hardship allowance when they have put themselves forward. And that is a very bad trend. Madam Vice President, would you deploy a team on the ground to go and do a head count and also do a fact-finding mission so that you know in Nakonde how many are entitled and how many are not? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Her Honor the Vice President.
The honorables here, well, we have ruled out the issues. Let us be serious here. The issue, please, you know, people are listening to us. Are we sure that Nakonde is administered by headmen? You know, that is wrong. You mean you have no council there? You are saying you have no DC in there? You mean you have no police in there? You mean, what are you talking about? Don't mislead the Zambians. There could be headmen, but those are not the administrators. They are not the administrators. So what is it? Even people of Nakonde will start laughing at you. That you come here to start saying there are only villages in the town. No, that is wrong. And when the honorable member for Mpika, you say until women are not put on hardship allowance, until they rural hardship, until they put themselves forward. What do you mean? You can sit because, honorable, I am on the floor. Okay. There is nothing in the workplace in our country, there is nothing that talks about women and men. If it is teachers, it is teachers. If it is nurses, they are nurses. They fall under the same categories and they go through the same conditions of service. So I don't know what you were trying to lead.
Thank you.
To.
Next question. Honorable Member for Kalabo Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question number 380.
The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And the question from the Honorable Member for Kalabo to the Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development is in three parts. A, whether the government has any plans to rehabilitate the Nkema Katunda turn-off portion of the Lusaka-Mongu Road. B, if so, when the plans will be implemented. C, if there are no such plans, why? Madam Speaker, we answer as follows. Question A, government has indeed plans to rehabilitate the Nkema Katunda portion of the Lusaka-Mongu Road. B, the rehabilitation works on this road will commence in August 2024. I repeat, the rehabilitation works on the road will commence in August 2024. What is happening now is preliminary works that need to be done before works actually start. C, there are plans to rehabilitate the Nkema Katunda portion of the Lusaka-Mongu Road as indicated in A. So for the question as to why there isn't, falls away. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Kalabo Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We really appreciate that's a good response. However,
what is wrong with the mic?
Use mine.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I was saying we appreciate the response given. We wanted further which company or the people have been contracted to do this good job.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. First of all, this section of Nkema to Katunda Road, let me make it very clear to the Honorable Member that this section of road is in a non-urban area. With regard to the contractor, let him bear with us. Part of the process is to finalize these issues. The information will be provided, but the start date is August. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kalomo Central.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. My name means witness. That road is really bad. It's not actually a road. If you bought your own car, you use it there? No. And so, to join the Honorable Member of Kalabo, I will stand as a witness to make sure that that road is done in 2024, as stipulated. However, my question is, in a synopsis, or just roughly, how much is the cost of the road? Because when you bring these facts, we get to know that it will really be done. That road just has to be done. Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
The actual cost for this one which is going in the contract, is 1,302,738,379 kwacha 32 ngwe. And we have done our calculations in terms of cost per kilometer is within the cost parameters that this new Dawn government works with. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Notice of motion. The Honorable Member for Kalomo Central.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I beg to move that this House do adopt the report of the Committee on Education, Science and Technology on the review of the 2013 Zambian curriculum, opportunities and challenges for the third session of the 13th National Assembly laid on the table of the House on 28th June 2024.
Is the motion seconded?
Yes, Madam Speaker.
Seconded by the Honorable Member for Milanzi. The question is that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Education, Science and Technology on the review of the implementation of the 2013 Zambian curriculum, opportunities and challenges for the third session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 27th June 2024. Any debate? The Honorable Member for Kalomo Central.
Madam Speaker, in accordance with its terms of reference set out in the Standing Orders 209 and 210 of the National Assembly of Zambia Standing Orders 2024, the Committee on Education, Science and Technology considered a topic entitled The Review of the 2013 Zambian Curriculum Opportunities and Challenges, and considered the action taken report for the second session of the 13th National Assembly. Madam, as you are aware, the committee requested for written memoranda from stakeholders on the topical issue and took local tours to Lusaka and southern provinces. This accorded the committee an opportunity to gain first-hand information on the implementation of the 2013 Zambian curriculum.
Order. You have a point of order. What is your point of order?
Madam Speaker, thank you so much for according me this opportunity. Madam Speaker, the point of order is regarding the rules of the House. Madam Speaker, I believe and I'm convinced the quorum has collapsed.
Okay, we'll check.
Thank you.
Thank you. The clerk? The clerk, are we? Don't forget the people who are in attendance virtually. Six. Oh, okay. Order. As the time is 16:40 hours, business for 20 minutes.
Thank you very much for still being with us on Parliament Television. The House has gone on a 20 minutes health break. Business is expected to resume at 17 hours. We just have a look at what's been discussed on the floor of the House from the time the House started sitting at 14:30 hours.
So when business resumed this afternoon at 14:30 hours, Madam Speaker did make 6 announcements, and thereafter she did permit the Minister of Water Development and Sanitation to render a ministerial statement on the status of groundwater resources.
And the House has also considered the 3 questions that came for consideration, Understanding Order 80, and thereafter the House went on to consider a motion that has been moved by Kalumo Central Member of Parliament, and in this motion he seeks the House to adopt the report of the Committee on Education, Science and Technology on the review of the implementation of the 2013 Zambian Curriculum Opportunities and Challenges for the 3rd session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on 27th June 2024, and we expect business to continue soon after the break at 17 hours. For now, we take a break.
You can now advertise on Parliament Television and Parliament Radio. For more information, call 0977 854102 or 0977 536487. Parliament Television, bringing Parliament closer to you.
Well, I'm a self-motivated person. I don't need to be pushed. Yeah, and I'm a self-starter. My grade 1, I did it at Misoro Primary School. Then grade 8 at Petauke Day. Then 12 at Petauke Boarding Secondary School. That was way back in 1994. My tertiary education, I've done my first degree with Rusank University in business administration, specialized in human resource management.